Hello, my name is Brian Davis, and today we're going to be doing something that I am very excited about. I want you to think about something. You've seen April on my page many, many times already. 2 years ago in September, we did a photo shoot at SSU, and the point of the shoot was I needed some photos for a project for a communications class. It was how to model. So I taught April some modeling positions real quick, and we got the photos, and I used them for the communications class. Well, I was looking back at these photos. Some of them I still like, as you'll see. But for the most part, I was like, I can do so much better today. And so that's basically what we did. I had April wear the same outfit. We went to the same location around the same time of year, and we shot at the same time of day, recreating some of the same poses, but redoing the shots in my style now, 2 years later, since, you learn a lot in 2 years. So I figured I'd go through and just sort of point out the differences that I can see and how I've improved and what's changed, what hasn't. And maybe, you can just have some fun along the way. Quick side note, this is really going out to a lot of amateur photographers out there who are looking at their photos being like, man, I just suck. It's like, it gets better. Trust me, it gets better. And if you're looking at your photos going, man, these are awesome, it still gets better. It really does. But good on you for having confidence in your photos. So the first one up here is, you can already tell the difference. The one on the left side in every case here is going to be the 2 years ago version, and the one on the right side is going to be the present version. So let's also get a few things out of the way. On the older version, I was shooting on a Canon Rebel T6 and a 70-200 2.8 lens. I loved that lens. It was heavy, but I loved it. And on newer ones, I'm shooting on a Canon EOS R with the RF 70-200, which is obviously a much newer camera and a much sharper lens. So taking those into account, let's also take into account the fact that the ones on the left, I don't think I edited them. I'm pretty sure I took them straight out of camera and just sent them, which is never a good idea. So let's just zoom in real quick here. You can see immediate difference. Look, I was gonna point to my screen. There's an immediate difference here on the right side. Her face is way sharper. There's also some of these blue tones in her face, like blues and purples, where they're not over here. It's a lot more orange. It's a lot more yellow and golden. So the golden tone on this side versus on this side. You can see a little bit more of the background on this side. I did, on this shot, pull out a little bit so you could see more of her outfit, versus on the left side is definitely more of a headshot. I don't know what I was thinking in leaving that, just taking that. Also, her glasses on this side, oh wow, this really is different. Her glasses on this side are a little bit, they're a little wonky, whereas on this side they're a little bit more straight onto her face. So that's a big difference. All right, moving on. Also, it's like 10:30 at night when I'm filming this. That's why I'm talking a lot quieter, but I kind of enjoy this, like, sort of down-to-earth, kind of chill sort of thing. All right, let's keep with the theme real quick here and stay out in this field that we started in. Let's find us a couple here. Again, very similar pose here. On the right side, I've pulled back. In my more recent photos, I've taken to, like, pushing back a little bit. I don't focus on the headshots as much. I probably should, but I don't. And you notice by pulling back a little bit, you can see on the right side, you can see a little bit more of the background. Whereas on the left side, it's still very fuzzy. This is a decent headshot. I probably would have tilted her, nowadays, this is me looking back at it 2 years later. I probably would have tilted her head up. You can't really do much about the fuzzy hair unless you can want to edit it out, and I don't do Photoshop much. I would have tilted her head up more. I do like how on the right side it's a little bit clearer in the glasses. It looks a little more reflective versus this side. Overall, this left side, I wouldn't say it's a bad photo, but this one is definitely showing a lot more promise. So let's take a look at these two here. So the first thing to notice is, on all of these, I do my current editing style is a golden tone. The first thing is, there's a lot less contrast on the left side here versus on the right side. You can see a lot more detail in her face. Now, you can attest that to a slightly better quality camera. And as you might know, with 2.8 lenses, the focal, like the plane where it's in focus is very thin, so if you don't get it right. With the eye autofocus of the EOS R, it's a little bit easier to nail that focus, but never mind that. This one, she's looking directly at the camera. She's engaging with the audience. This one, she's looking into the distance. Now, looking into the distance photos are fine, but this one, it doesn't seem like there's any motivation to it. It just seems like she's just looking into the distance for no reason. On this side, and this is not really something I could have controlled at the time, on this side, her hair is kind of blowing in the wind. It's got a little bit more motion to it, whereas this side, it doesn't. It just feels a little bit more in motion on the right side. Also, we're looking at the other side. We're seeing just the side of her face. We're seeing the front of her face here, but her body is turned slightly, and on this side, it's pretty straight on. Seeing most of her body. Again, I just prefer the right side. Of course, I prefer the one on the right side because I took the photos, and they're better in the future after I've learned things. Quick reminder that the ones on the left are actual photos that I sent to April and said, here you go. I would not have sent these now. So, first thing to note, they're both in motion shots. They're both, she did the same kind of twirly dance move on both of them. So they're both in motion. They're both doing these dancing things. On the left side, you can see her face, her mouth is closed. She doesn't look very happy. Now, she was laughing in both of these, but I just got her in a moment before she started laughing, and then I thought this would be good. So it doesn't really show the emotion of the scene. She's just kind of flat. Versus on the right side, she's happy, she's enjoying herself, which is obviously what you want. And of course, her hair is moving about. Her arms are a little bit higher on this side. There's a little bit more motion in the legs versus these, which are kind of flat. I think this is better. You can see more detail, contrast. Well, never mind the editing. The light on her face. On the right side, the lighting was roughly the same in both of these, but on the right side in editing, which is why editing is important, I brightened up her face and her skin, versus on the left side I left it, which is why editing matters because, from a distance you can barely tell that she's even smiling, and over here you can tell she's having a good time, even from a distance. So that's why editing's important, so you can see the important stuff. The leafy shots is a great example of what not to do. Okay, so I got two of these. I think I'll use this one. I prefer this one. Okay, so we can already tell what's wrong with these because on the left side here is not the absolute worst photo I've seen. It's got good lighting on the face. You can see the leaves in front of the frame. It's a good thing that back then I was thinking of the idea of putting things in front of the face to kind of create depth in the frame. But on the right here, but ultimately on the left side, they're just kind of dangling. They're just kind of there. They're not interfering with it. I didn't bring them all the way down, so they're like covering her face or any parts of it. But on the right side, they're in front of the camera, right? There's depth there. You can see a little bit. You can see her face is clearly being blocked by it. It's almost like a good shot. This is why I also go to this one where her face isn't being blocked, but it's just they're very close to the frame and out of focus. So they're not as distracting as on the left side here where they are clearly just right there. You want them a little bit farther away so they're a little more blurry, so they're not a distraction. Now I can understand why you'd make an argument as to why this is distracting and why you'd want to fix that, but I didn't do that because that's not what I decided to do. And maybe 2 years from now, Brian will be like, hey, this is a terrible idea, and this is an even worse idea, and here's the idea I did now. That would be interesting. 4 years and 2 years. Clear difference here. Left side, she's a little bit more closed in. She's a little bit more back here, back into the corner, a little bit darker. Versus on the right side, she's more out in the open. There's still the bars behind her, so you're still in the same location, but it's a little bit more free and open and like she's got space to move. Now, hand position also matters. Over on this side, I decided to have her over and hand in her hair, but this one I decided to have her propping herself up and hand on the leg rather than in her hair, because in her hair doing it every time is gets a little boring. You don't want the same pose every time. Now, however, if we go back to these real quick, you'll see, where'd it go? You'll see that in this one, I tried to do this little half reflection thing with my phone, which is cool, but I think the right side did it better. Same reflection kind of technique, but this time, again, edited and shot in portrait so you can see a little bit better, which I think definitely helps. You're cutting off her legs and her kind of butt there because of the reflection, which means they aren't if they're just out of frame a little bit, it doesn't really matter. Whereas in this one, you can see her legs, her feet are just cut off at the frame. You can still kind of see them. Again, her butt's kind of cut off, so it doesn't really matter where you can see it. But then there's all this open space on this side. But right here, there's open space above her, but it's filled with the background trees. But over here, it's kind of dead and boring space, if that makes sense. And you see kind of a similar thing where I did the reflection on the left side instead of the right side. Let's go back to a headshot real quick. Let's do this. I'm not gonna lie, I wish I could have been able to do, so the tables at SSU where we shot the one on the left, they were moved, so we weren't able to do those shots. I would have liked to have been able to do them again, because I think I would have recreated this pose exactly and done it exactly the same, because I really like this shot, even as it is. I would have edited it differently today, obviously, but I like how it looks. I like that it's good frame. I like how it's got that cool reflection in the background of the window. This one's good too. I like, you know, both sides. Got a little bit. It's just a good headshot. So this is a good example of one that I don't hate. It's like, you know, it's good. It's still pretty good. A little peering over the glasses here versus. I think I like the one on. I think I like these both equally, to be honest. I think the one on the left has got some pizzazz to it because it's a little bit more like sneaky, like, ooh, you look, oh gosh, that was a fail. I think the one on the left has a bit more pizzazz to it because it's like, you know, who are you looking at, versus the one on the right is like more posed and more editorial-esque, like, I asked you to do this. So the one on the left almost feels more natural. I would have done a little bit more, maybe with her face, maybe had her jaw hang open a little bit to make it more natural, but on the right, I think they're both really good and have redeeming qualities in both of them. Let's go with this one. This is a fun one. I think this might be the last one. Oh yeah, this is definitely a good one. So, I tried this as a good little story, actually. I tried this photo. Now, there's actually things about both these that I like, and let's talk about these. Let's first talk about the differences. Number one, the background on the right side is a little more matching of her skin tone. It's a little bit more of this like orangey kind of brownish yellow, versus on the left side, it's very bright, again, with the uneven lighting. It's very bright in the background and shady on her face. And also the green does not go well with her skin tone. And then there's this big ugly pole here, and there's these bunch of cars here, and I see the leaves, and it was just like, that was a pretty good leaf throw, though. Like, that's the thing I like about this photo, is that she looks excited, and, well, I think this side she looks happier. But this is still fun. This looks a little more like she's acting. This looks a little bit more like she's actually having fun. That's the difference there. And that's not on April. That's just on how the photo was taken. So this is a pretty good leaf throw, actually. I was satisfied with that leaf throw. I would have been satisfied with that nowadays. But with this pole and the green, it kind of gets lost. Now over here, you're sitting here like, well, I mean, you kind of have the same problems. The leaves are kind of getting lost in the background. You're unable to see a lot of them. But since a lot of them are kind of in front of her, we had that blurry motion. How much did I have on this? 1/25 of a second, yeah. So since they're so much brighter than the background, they pick up a little bit easier. They do get a little lost up here between the yellows. I took the greens and made them more yellow. They do get a little bit lost in yellows, but honestly, I think that's okay. I think you can tell enough of it to kind of get an idea of what you're looking at. It just, on the right side, it just feels more happy and more vibrant versus the left side. And of course, there are some photos that we recreated a bunch, but I want to talk about a few that I just got that weren't recreated. So let's start with this one. Actually, this is going to shock you. This is one that was, is it that one? Here we go. This is one that I didn't recreate. This is one that I was unable to recreate because when we were walking around SSU, we ran into a guy and he was washing the windows. He was washing the windows, and the stream made a puddle, and I was like, I'm going to shoot into this puddle and get this reflection of you kind of looking in your glasses. So the actual photo looks like this in reality, but I flipped it so we could see her, and it kind of gives this kind of dreamy effect. I love this photo. I still love it 2 years later. Is it the best? Would I have edited it differently? 100%. Like, nowadays, I would have, and I wish I could have recreated this, but, you know, you can only get so lucky. You can only get so much. But I still like this photo, and I would still be like, yeah, shoot into puddles and get those reflections, because reflections are cool. This was definitely a new one. We did this in the same location that we shot the one with the bars in the background. Literally like 5 feet away. It was like scooch over, nice green background. This is so much better than the bars. Like, the bars are cool, but this is so much simpler. It's a lot less distracting. It's got a lot less to it. And you're able to, and I was able to move around. I was able to get a little farther back so you can get the more tight background, move forward a little bit so I could get a kind of 3/4 angle. This is one that we created from scratch this time. We found the chair where we shot the headshot, and I was like, you should sit backwards on the chair and put your arms up on it, you know, like a dude. And she was like, do it. So she did. And it looks sick. But even though I like this one, and I did post this one as like the main one because, I mean, it's really good. I think there's a few things I would have edited there. It's really good. I think I prefer this one because it's got a little bit more motion to it, where she's kind of like rocking back on the chair, and it's got a little bit more of a in the moment, what you want kind of vibe. Like you coming over here, you talking to me, you know you're talking to me because I'm good looking. I'm April in this scenario. April has a very deep voice. You're welcome. Let me also finish up real quick by talking about things that you should not do because they're here and I didn't want to recreate them. Is number one, this goes back to the whole putting stuff in the frame that doesn't really help. Her expression's all awkward, her hair is weird, her glasses are wonky, this thing is super in focus, and she is definitely not in focus, and it doesn't add anything, and the pink clashes with the yellow and everything else in it. Just don't do this. Surround her. If you're going to put her in frame, have her be enveloped by the flowers. I'll put a shot of Elena up in here where she's being enveloped by the flowers. This is an example of what you should do. This is an example of what you shouldn't do. Don't do this. Just don't. This. First of all, her pose, she's all closed off. And she's leaning at an awkward angle. So there's 2 things that are wrong with this. Her hair's in her face. There's 3 things. This little dangly thing is dangling too much. Her background's way too bright. Her face is very dark. Her eyes are like squinting, so she's not great. Overall, this is just a displeasing, dissatisfying photo. Don't do this. If you're going to have somebody lean on a tree, well, there's better ways to do it than this. And I think that just about sums it up. I hope you liked this video. If you did, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe for more because I plan on making more videos in the future. Go check out these posts on Instagram, as I will be showing them when the time of this video comes out. That's today and Friday. Take a look at them and tell me what you think. And I'll see you in the next video. See you later. I like my voice sounding deep. I'm gonna stop that now. April needs more love. Go follow her on Instagram at April Jax and Ajax Photos.